Each of my portrait paintings contains symbols that represent important stories from their life. Let's talk about the hidden symbols and stories in this portrait of Bob Marley. Bob Marley was born in St. Anne, Jamaica on his grandparents' farm called 9 Mile. They grew corn, bananas, and potatoes. This stone path leads to Marley's birthplace. Thousands of visitors have made pilgrimage to the Malcolm family farm passing along this path. Around 18 years old, Bob became a Rastafarian. Rastafari is a religion, lifestyle, and political movement combining Protestant Christianity, mysticism, and Pan-Africanism. For years, Bob Marley wore this ring bearing the Lion of Judah. It represents Emperor Haile Selassie, as well as being a symbol of strength, kinship, pride, and African sovereignty. Bob Marley and wife Rita Marley had an open marriage. These flowers represent his 11 children from 7 different mothers. As a pioneer of reggae, Bob's message has spread to every corner of the world. While feverishly adored in his life, posthumously he has become one of the most popular musicians of all time. This amp is meant to represent his worldwide influence. Bob Marley loved playing soccer. He and the Wailers played every day. Cancer was found in Bob's toe in 1977. Doctors urged amputation of the toe. Bob refused, fearing that he would lose the ability to play soccer. Within 3 years, the cancer had spread, taking his life at the early age of 36. Bob Marley was buried with these 3 things: a soccer ball, a stalk of ganja, and a Bible. Behind music, soccer was Marley's greatest passion. When doctors urged Marley to amputate his toe to remove the cancer after his diagnosis, Marley refused, believing it would prevent him from playing soccer every day. Followers of Rastafari use ganja or marijuana for spiritual purposes as sacrament. For the Rastafari, the herb is sacred. Bob Marley was a member of the Rastafari religion and political movement, and for this reason, his wife Rita laid a stalk of ganja to rest with him before he was buried. Rita Marley also placed a Bible in Bob's bronze casket. The Bible was opened to Psalm 23. While it is often reported that Bob Marley was buried with his beloved Les Paul Special, this piece of musical history was kept by the Marley family out of his casket and is now on display in the Bob Marley Museum at his home in Jamaica. Visitors can see it when they visit the Bob Marley Mausoleum. What would you put in your casket? Bob's mother, Cedella Malcolm, became pregnant at 18 by a 60-year-old Englishman named Marley. He was employed overseeing the Malcolm plantation. They quickly married, but Marley Sr. would abandon Cedella before the baby was even born. Mr. Marley visited his son from time to time until his death when young Bob was only 10. Before Bob became a worldwide icon, he visited his father's family, the White Marleys, many called them. He was eager to meet his uncle, aunts, and cousins. His uncle denied Bob was their kin and turned him away. In Bob's song titled Cornerstone, he wrote how he knows his worth even after being rejected. The stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone. The quotation is taken from the Book of Psalms. A keystone, or capstone, is the uniquely shaped stone of an apex of an arch. While consistently shaped square stones are desired for every other part of the arch, the final piece must be misshapen. It locks all the stones into position, allowing the arch to bear weight. This keystone is found amongst the previously rejected stones. Bob was not accepted as a perfectly shaped member of his father's family. He was rejected, but he knew he would be the Marley to represent them all. He was their keystone. While the White Marleys weren't interested in getting to know Bob, the entire world knows the Marley name because of him. It's hard to understand the life and legacy of Bob Marley without understanding the spiritual and cultural movement of Rastafari. So what is Rastafari? The religion emerged in Jamaica in the 1930s, blending elements of Christianity, mysticism, and Pan-Africanism. Central to Rastafari is reverence for Haile Selassie, former emperor of Ethiopia, who is seen as the Messiah who would lead the people of Africa to freedom. He is represented by the Lion of Judah, which carries connotation of strength, kingship, pride, and of African sovereignty. The red, green, and gold color palette adopted by the Rastafari movement comes from the Ethiopian flag. Red symbolizes the blood of those killed for the cause of the African community. Green signifies the promised land that is Ethiopia's natural vegetation, and gold represents the wealth that belongs to the African continent. Followers of Rastafari focus on principles like love, peace, and unity. Followers often wear dreadlocks as a symbol of their faith. Some Rastas follow an eat-all diet, avoiding processed foods and focusing on clean foods taken straight from the earth. These days, Rastafari is strongly linked with Jamaican culture, but for decades, the Rastafari were persecuted by the Jamaican government and even by their fellow citizens for their use of cannabis in rituals and other aspects of their lifestyle. Bob Marley was instrumental in changing the way that Rastafari were viewed. It's because of him that today Rastafari is so strongly linked with mainstream Jamaican culture. So, the next time you listen to Bob Marley or you attend a local Rasta bar, keep in mind the long history and deeply spiritual nature of the Rastafari community. Let's talk about dreadlocks. Ancient civilizations in Africa, Greece, India, and South America all have depictions of individuals wearing their hair in locks. Even though forming hair into locks is an ancient tradition, Bob Marley's rise to international fame in the 1970s made him kind of a poster boy for dreadlocks and the Rasta lifestyle. The Rastas lock their hair for religious, social, and political reasons. Rastas adhere to teachings of the Bible, which says Jesus will return as the Lion of Judah. Freeform locks are meant to resemble a lion's mane. Some Rastas believe your energy flows from the top of your head. Not cutting your hair leaves the individual stronger. This argument is supported by the story of Samson in the Old Testament of the Bible. When Emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie, was forced into exile, guerrilla warriors vowed to not cut their hair until he was freed. Over time, their hair formed into long locks. When Africans were sold into slavery, their heads were shaven, removing their identity, autonomy, and culture. So when individuals of African descent had the freedom to choose their hairstyle, the freeform lock style was a form of rebellion from oppression, celebration of self-expression, or African pride. There are many stories that claim to explain the origin of the term dreadlocks. Some maintain that it started in the 1950s to describe the fierce Kenyan warriors as they rose up against the colonial regime of Britain. Others say the term was coined by the Rastafari themselves to describe their own dread or fear of God. Most of all, what I learned while spending weeks on this research is that the history of dreadlocks is immense. Inspirations are many, and each person who wears their hair in locks has their own reason for doing so. Bob Marley agreed to headline a concert in Jamaica during a dangerous time of political violence. His message of peace and love were meant to promote national unity. 2 days before the concert, 7 gunmen stormed Marley's home, opening fire, hitting the singer twice, his wife, and 2 others. Miraculously, everyone survived. Following the shooting, Bob was determined to play the peace concert. On stage, Marley opened his shirt, revealing the 2 bullet wounds to the crowd. "Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be all right." These 3 little birds represent that concept